presentation today, we'll be sharing more on aquaponics in South Africa and just my experience with how aquaponics can really shape South African agricultural climates. So I'm sure most of you are wondering what aquaponics is. So here's just a diagram that's very visible for you guys to kind of understand that it is all in the name. So aquaponics is aqua, that stands for water, and ponics is to grow. So aquaponics is basically a soil-less growing system. There is no soil that is involved. You're working primarily with water, and you're growing in water. So it is a symbiotic relationship where you have your fish, and your fish give you fish waste, and that fish waste is your fertilizer. So no more rushing to Omnia, no more rushing to Hydrotech to buy your fertilizers, because you are getting your nutrient-rich fertilizers naturally from the fish. And then the fish waste gets filtrated, and then your plant roots absorb the nutrients, and that is how the plants grow. And as they're absorbing the fish waste nutrients, they're actually cleaning the water. And then they send the water back to the fish, clean water. So that is a symbiotic relationship, and that is what aquaponics essentially is. So as you guys can see in the diagram, that there's beneficial bacteria that converts the ammonia, which is the fish waste, into nutrients. And that is how it goes. Basically, water recycling in your system. You don't have to change your water. There's 90% saving of water, unlike conventional agriculture where you have to irrigate every day and it uses a lot of water. You have to have boreholes in your farm. You have to have water reservoirs. Okay, sorry. So when I speak about aquaponics, a lot of times people come up to me and they're like, oh, Gugu, are you trying to bash farmers? Are you trying to bash traditional farming methods? And that is not what I'm trying to do. So here is a little presentation where I just wanted to get that out of the air, because I know most of people are thinking, if I'm speaking about aquaponics, what about traditional soil farming? Because we grew up, where soil is wealth. We all know that. So now I'm going to come and tell you guys that water is another alternative. So you guys are probably thinking, oh, well, what are you trying to say? So here are some issues with traditional soil farming in context to South Africa. I'm going to start with the last one. I don't know why I put it last, because I think it's quite pressing. Cheap labor. So when it comes to farming in South Africa, we do utilize a lot of cheap labor. We don't necessarily pay what we should, and there's a lot of cheap labor going on, and it is also seasonal. You use your workers seasonally. Sometimes you bring them when it's harvest time, or you bring them when it's planting time. And with aquaponics, it's a growing cycle throughout the year. Doesn't matter whether it's hot, doesn't matter whether it's cold. You can actually employ people and they can get a salary every month. So I think that's one of the benefits actually of aquaponics. And traditional soil farming has climate change concerns. That is not something that we can shy away from. Climate change is real. And our planting dates are moving because, our rains are only coming in later. We're experiencing droughts. So that is some of the issues with traditional soil farming. And also the costs of fertilizers. I know it's a real problem for farmers, and they're complaining about their input costs being way too high. So their fertilizers, their pesticides, their herbicides, their seeds, everything is just an expense. And that is something that you need to deal with if you're doing traditional soil farming. Those are some of the issues that I've just noted here. It is not to say that traditional soil farming isn't the best. It's not something that is natural. I'm just bringing about a new way of farming, which is aquaponics. So another concern that I wanted to also highlight is, okay, well, you're speaking about aquaponics, but I've commercially heard of hydroponics. So what is the difference between that? So hydroponics and aquaponics, it's pretty much the same thing. So with hydroponics, it is how it would be with aquaponics, just without the fish. So hydroponics is definitely cheaper. If you want to start a hydroponic system where you're going to be growing, it's the cheaper option than aquaponics, because aquaponics is more expensive because you need to now also focus on the fish side. You need to build a whole system for the fish, which is an extra cost. With hydroponics, you have running costs because you have to buy fertilizers all year round, whereas with hydroponics, in terms of the running costs, you don't really need to buy fertilizers because, like I said in the beginning, you get your fertilizers from your fish waste. But the running cost of aquaponics is that the fish need to be kept running in terms of the system. So you need electricity for the fish. And we are in South Africa, so you can imagine that if you're going to be considering aquaponics, you have to kind of be off-grid and you need to be looking at solar energy. Hydroponics is also, I feel, a non-ecosystem because there's not a symbiotic relationship between fish and plants. So it's just plants that you constantly need to be growing in water. You need to change that water. You need to test that water. You need to constantly buy nutrients when you're dealing with hydroponics. So it's not a complete ecosystem like it would be with aquaponics. So this is just a visual representation of what hydroponics and aquaponics would look like. So where I'm dressed in pink, it's a greenhouse of hydroponics. It's actually what's that? Oh, we're doing peppers. So that's where you just find a greenhouse and you would be growing hydroponics. There is no other department where the fish is there and it's feeding you with the nutrients. Whereas with aquaponics, you'll traditionally get like this is a deep water culture system, so beds of water, and you'd ask yourself, okay, well, what is this floating raft thing doing here? What's happening? That would traditionally be an aquaponic system. So aquaponics is easy, guys. I think a lot of times when South Africans hear about smart farming, we ask ourselves, oh Jesus, what is smart farming technology? Oh my God, what's that? But I just wanted to break it down for you guys so that you can understand that this is just technology at its best and there's nothing complicated about this at all. So how it would work is that, as you can see, picture that flood tank over there. Picture just a bucket filled with water, right? This bucket has to have two valves. Incoming water and outcoming water. So the water would basically go to your grow beds, as you can see over there, and the water would fill up your grow beds, and underneath there it would be little rocks, right, where the bacteria would grow, and then from that valve goes into your fish, and then your fish poops, and then it goes back to your little flood tank. So it really is a whole system that is closed and nothing gets lost. So your fish are kept in a separate container, and they're obviously going to poop and sweat, and their ammonia, their waste, is going to travel back to the reservoir, the main reservoir. That reservoir is going to provide a valve to where your vegetables are. Your vegetables are going to suck all of that and filter out the solid waste of the poop, just extract the water filled with the nutrients, and then it's going to come out again and go back to your fish as clean water, because your plants are going to suck up the fish poop and clean it for you. They're going to filtrate it and then give back your fish clean water. So that is essentially how aquaponics work, ladies and gentlemen. It really is a whole system, it's a cycle, it's symbiotic. Okay, so here I'm going to speak about, what kind of foods that you can grow with aquaponics. The main food or leafy green that you can grow with aquaponics is lettuce. I know lettuce, in and out now because of aquaponics, but you can also grow kale, you can also grow baby leaf spinach, watercress, decorative flowers, mint herbs, okras, cucumbers. The list is really endless with what you can grow with this system. So you shouldn't think that this is only reserved for my lettuce. I know when you guys maybe Google hydroponics or aquaponics, you're gonna see lettuce, but there's so many more vegetables that you can actually plant. And also with this aquaponics, what I want to just note here is that it is a system where you can grow high-value crops. And high-value crops gives you a competitive market edge, because now you're no longer competing with the Johannesburg fresh produce market, where everyone is like coming in, big trucks are coming all the way from Limpopo, with their spinach, and you coming there with your Ranger. I think it's a good competitive edge to set you apart, because you're going to be growing all these high value crops that are going to give you a high value profit, I believe. And I also have experience that, with aquaponics, it is something that is slowly getting excited about in terms of the markets. Restaurants want aquaponic grown leafy greens. So it really is exciting in terms of how to grow food using technology. So here's also just me inside the deep water culture. As you can see behind me, I don't know if you can see, but we do spring onions as well. Red and green spring onions, and there's also mint there, and we did that actually as an R&D to see if it would deter the pests, and actually it works. And then the lettuce there at the back, I don't know if you guys can see it, but aquaponics is really fun. It's a new fun way of growing food, and it's really, really exciting because all these crops that are there are going to be selling at, a good price per kilograms at the market. So, how did I start my journey in aquaponics? So I want to share this video. I don't know if it's going to play. I won't play the entire video. But I come from a traditional soil farming background, and I was leasing land in Joburg and Boksburg, where I was doing spinach, and I was rotating that with bush beans and baby marrows. And CGTN, which is the China Global Television Network, came to interview me for Women's Month, I think. And what they wrote is, okay, I don't know how to play this video. I don't think it can play. But basically, how they introduced this video is that they wrote, so I was going to show you guys, but they wrote aquaponics farmer in South Africa, and I don't know why they wrote that, because I was not doing aquaponics, but I think they saw the tunnels, and they assumed that this is, I don't even know why, I would be lying to you guys, but they wrote aquaponics farmer in South Africa, and that is how I was actually scouted from this German invested aquaponics guys that said, hey, we would like you to join our team, and that's actually how I got into aquaponics. So it was really a mistake, but a beautiful one, and unfortunately I can't show you guys the video. So yeah, sorry guys, I added videos here, but I don't know how to play them. So let me see. Alright, so apparently my time is also limited. So yeah, I was just going to show you the video of how an aquaponics farm actually looks like. So remember I mentioned in the beginning that aquaponics is basically the art of using water to grow your foods, right? So aquaponics is also derived from aquaculture. And aquaculture, in terms of an aquaponics system, is us using a fish breed that is going to give us this fertilizer. Remember I mentioned that the fish poop, and that is the money, really. So we are using a breed called tilapia, Niloticus tilapia. The reason why we chose it is because Niloticus comes from the Nile River. It is from Africa, so it can withstand African temperatures. It's a high breeding fish, and we get a lot of eggs from them. And it's also market friendly. We are able to sell tilapia to our spas and our pick and pay. So the market is actually already there, and it's selling at a good price. So that's the reason why we chose tilapia. Okay. So with aquaponics, I know I speak a lot about deep water culture. Now I'm not going to go through all the different kinds of systems that you can buy. If you wanted to be an aquaponics farmer, you don't have to use the method that I use, like deep water culture, where I'm immersed in like a bath system where it's basically called deep water culture because you are able to float a lot of rafts where you can grow your food. There are different types, like your vertical aquaponics, your nutrient-filled technique NFTs. Most of you guys will be very familiar with that. It looks like a whole gutter system line where you can grow your foods individually. And there's also media-based aquaponics. So I'm not going to go through the different types of techniques, but I just wanted you guys to be aware that there's different styles of aquaponics. You don't have to do deep water culture. So the reason why we chose deep water culture is because it's just a stable temperature and pH. When it comes to aquaponics, you need to understand the water. Remember now, you're not dealing with soil, you're dealing with water. So you need to understand the nutrients of the water. The pH needs to be stable. Your EC needs to be stable. So we have found that with deep water culture, we are able to keep that stable temperature that the plants need to grow. It's also very easy to scale. So if I had maybe a 6x10 with another 6x10, I'm able to know how much fish I need for one 6x10 to grow lettuce, for instance. So it's easy for us to make mathematical calculations and sell this model to maybe an investor or someone who's interested. It's also very low maintenance. We did mention about electricity costs in South Africa, so this deep water culture is definitely something that allows us that freedom. And plants with long roots are able to just, grow nice and long with the deep water culture method. Okay, so these are the benefits of aquaponics. I'm going to skim through them as well. So the benefits of aquaponics is that, like I said, that the fish will feed your plants throughout their waste outputs. There's no need for fertilizer. And another selling point for aquaponics is that it definitely saves water. Like I mentioned before, that you don't lose any water besides, transpiration, which is natural. But compared to soil farming methods, it is really a water-saving benefit. And also, we are, getting in hot water with classifying ourselves as organic. So I'm going to say that we are rather pesticide-free. So we don't use any pesticides. So we use biologicals in terms of spraying. And we have a low PHI, post-harvest interval. That means we can spray today and we can eat tomorrow. Whereas if you were growing in the soil, you'd spray today and probably only be able to eat it 3-4 weeks later. So anyone can start aquaponics. I really think that's the message I just want to leave you guys here with, that this is not something that's complicated. This is not something that you and I cannot start, cannot do. It is a very exciting way to grow food. It's an alternative, and it's definitely, I think, a wonderful initiative with urbanization taking place. with climate change taking place, this is something that can allow you to grow food all year round. Forget about your seasons. Aquaponics can really help mitigate all of that. So here's a DIY system. As you can see, it's a bucket of water and a tray. And voila. The whole system I told you about of a cycle is taking place there, and your plants are growing, as you can see. So in terms of our daily operations, most people will ask me, okay, Gugu, so how is it like on an aquaponics farm? What do you guys do? Let me tell you guys this, that we are harvesting 3 times a week. Every single week we are harvesting. The fish takes 6 months to grow. So the fish is actually an expense. And what keeps the business alive is the plants, because we are harvesting 3 times a week, and we are planting back what we've harvested 2 times a week. So obviously the fish, we feed them every day. We are targeting weights with the fish. Like, think about it, if you had like cattle or any other animal, you want them to gain weight. So we feed them consistently with our charts to make sure that they get to a certain weight at a certain time. And I do data capturing as well. You know, I need to know the temperatures, I need to know the pH, I need to know the EC, I need to know the DO when it comes to the fish, the oxygen. So it's data. Remember, this is smart farming. You need to prove that technology can work for you. So you need to capture data to see what you're doing so that you can go forward. We do have mechanical issues, so you need someone with a technical know-how, maybe to fix the drum filter or to fix a motor or something here and there. And we also do a lot of research and development, R&D, where, remember I told you there's so many vegetables that you can actually plant with aquaponics. But can we plant tomatoes, you know, in aquaponics? So there's a lot of tests that we are doing and we're running. And we're also playing with biologicals and doing IPM, which is integrated pest management. So biologicals are not harsh chemicals. Some people say that they don't work, but we as an aquaponics facility need to prove that, you know, we can work with nature. We don't need to be spraying all these harsh chemicals. We can use an integrated approach by putting our sticky tapes, by, I think I showed you in the first picture where I was doing a test between spring onions and mint to see if they would deter the pests. So it's actually organic, I feel, in a sense, because we are trying our level best to grow as healthy without the use of chemicals as we can. And it's also Global Gap certified because aquaponics is very attractive, so you can also do exports and also appeal to different markets. You know, you don't have to take your aquaponic grown lettuce to the Johannesburg Fresh Produce Market. You can approach Woolworths, you can approach Pick n Pay and tell them that, you know what, I have lettuce and I'm going to call it, you know, TAFFD lettuce, basically. And, you know, you can market yourself as such. And we also do training. You know, aquaponics is a new system. People don't know about it, so that's something that happens also. So, yeah, this is basically it. You have your fish, and you have your plants, and that is what aquaponic is. It is a symbiotic relationship, and you can see my roots, they are nice and white. That should show you that my plants are nice and healthy as well, and that is the Niloticus tilapia that I'm holding there. I'm not sure if it's a male or female, but yeah, that's just a visual representation of what aquaponics is. So, okay, this is my second last slide. So, I know I'm selling aquaponics, but I wouldn't be fair if I don't pose the challenges that come with the system. So, the challenges, I feel, the first one is that aquaponics is a multidisciplinary technique. It's not something that is easy. Like I said, you need to keep temperatures the same, your pH needs to be the same, you need to ensure that your nutrition is also right, your NPK is still there, even though the fish provide a lot of the nutrients that it needs, you still kind of need to supplement more with phosphorus especially, and iron. So this is a skill that you need. So we need more people, more young people to come up and take up this multidisciplinary, because in future I believe it's going to be really relevant. And another challenge is lack of training and skills transfer. The nutrient balance and parameter stabilization, like I was telling you, that you need to just kind of always play with the buffers, play with your pH, play with your DO, and ensure that it doesn't go too high or go too low. And the truth of the matter is that aquaponics, to start it is very expensive. It's got a high capex, especially if you want to go commercial. You are going to need a lot of investments, but the beauty about it is that your ROI is definitely quite short. In 2 years, you would probably be able to pay it back, provided that you know what you're doing. And also there's a market breakthrough. If you guys see aquaponic lettuce in the shelves of Pick n Pay or Spar, just know that it is the few growers here in South Africa that are really trying to break through this market. And electricity costs, societal stigmas as well. Like I said, you are growing water. Some people might think that this is nonsense and this is abnormal. So it's a lot of teaching and just breaking that barrier as well. Alright, so here are the opportunities of aquaponics. This was also a video, so I tried my level best to teach people about aquaponics. I've started hashtag Farm Spaces Africa on Twitter, where we have audio conversations about any topic that's related to agriculture in South Africa. So this was one of the audio conversations that I had with aquaponics farmers in South Africa. So if you'd like to maybe, train, there is a training center in Centurion. It's run by my mentor, Neil Straub. He's been in the aquaponics industry for 30 years. So if you want to get a hold of him, you're more than willing to just Google Urban Aquaponics on Google and just contact him for training. And now the theme is Afrolongevity. And I just wanted to add this slide that, in terms of where aquaponics fits in longevity, I believe that, it's a climate change readiness tool. Like I said, we are not here to replace the soil. We will never replace the soil. But we are here to be climate change ready and climate change aware. And that's what I believe aquaponics does. I believe that it's a practical solution to urbanization, and even in township areas, like aquaponics doesn't need anything fancy. I think I showed you a slide where you can take even your bin and a tray, and that's an aquaponics system. One valve in, one valve out, and just maybe 2 or 3 fish. You'll tell us how much nitrogen you need. And the water resource is also something that's very important. Water is a scarce resource, so aquaponics definitely saves water. And it's, I believe it's youth and female attractive aquaponics. Female farmers want flexibility. They want to be able to live their lives. They don't want to really be in the field day in, day out. They probably want to travel, start a family. Technology like aquaponics really works for you and gives you peace of mind. And it's also sustainable. So, yeah, that is the end of my presentation. Thank you so much.